Let's roll. Level 3 has begun. This is SportsRage. I am Morency. Show is flying by here this evening. Great time of the year right now. Love talking about the draft. We got the NFL playoffs, college football season. Listen, it's done, but it kind of fully isn't. If you're a college football diehard, as Rick Saratello was talking about, there's a bunch of these games coming up, right? We've got the Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, the whatever. There's a million of these. Right, the NFLPA Bowl. There used to be like the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl, and of course the Blue-Gray game that we always wax poetic about. The Blue-Gray game on Christmas Day that no longer exists, but it was all the all-stars, the players that didn't play in bowl games. It was a pretty cool concept. But there's like, I don't know. We'll look it up. There's I don't know. There's probably off the top of my head. Oh, there's the Hula Bowl. There's one in Hawaii. Right, there's a bunch of them, and there's point spreads for most of them, almost every one of them. There's numbers for, so we'll be betting them. We're pretty good, as you guys know. I'm a good all-star bettor. Like I'm good at like isolated event, unique sports type thing. Always have done well in these games. Always have done well in sort of like these startup leagues and stuff like that. So we'll make some money on the way out for college football. But it's about the NFL playoffs and of course. College basketball, big night in college basketball tonight. A lot of upsets. Houston lost. Purdue lost. What's going on with that New Mexico State and UNLV game? I jumped in pretty big on the total of this game. I got a little sloppy earlier with some of my picks. I got to end strong here on the way out. UNLV, go fight, win. UNLV are leading 52-44 right now with 14 minutes remaining in a basketball game. I've got, I only have one play in this game. I've got the over 158.5 in game. It's 155.5 right now. What I don't like is looking at the foul situation. There's no fouls. Nobody is fouled in the second half, which I find hard to believe. But this game is sort of right on the number here right now. We'll see if New Mexico goes on a run. I am on the Raptors on the money line at plus 155. And I'm on the Raptors plus the points as well. Like I said, this is sort of the... I got a bunch of plays. I probably got like 5-6 plays on this Raptor-Laker game right now. This is the one that we're going to need on the way out to salvage. You know what I mean? It's a roller coaster. I got sloppy. I bet too much on that NCAA hockey game for whatever stupid reason. I don't know why I did that. Right? It's one thing to bet the game, but I bet bigger than I should have on a Sacred Heart Army, Sacred Heart and Army college hockey game. Shout out to everyone joining us on Sirius XM Channel 159. We'll welcome our AM radio affiliates shortly and momentarily. So as far as J.J. McCarthy is concerned, I've always been a big fan of his. I sort of just knew right away that, yeah, this is the guy, right? And remember, Harbaugh had Alex Smith as his quarterback in San Francisco. They went like 12-4 all the time. And he made the switch to a young quarterback named Colin Kaepernick. And they went to the Super Bowl. Right, Cade McNamara was 12-1. He beat Ohio State. His only loss, they lost to Georgia in the playoff game. And they said, you know what, we're going to go with J.J. McCarthy next year instead. And, of course, Cade's now at Iowa. He got hurt this year. It's too bad. But there is something special about J.J. McCarthy. And he's going to be one of these guys that between all the NFL teams that meet him, all it takes is one to fall in love type of deal, right? So looking at like the well-respected websites out there, Walter Football is a very well-respected site when it comes to the NFL draft, right? WalterFootball.com. Walter Football, I was surprised. Walter Football has J.J. McCarthy going 5th to the New York Giants. I don't know. Are the Giants ready to move on from Daniel Jones? I'm not so sure that they are. I'm not sure about that. So, for the record, Walter Football, very well-respected website, obviously, for those of you that know about draft stuff. Walter's got him going 5th. Sporting News. I respect Sporting News, sportingnews.com. And listen, I'm just telling you, these things aren't set in stone, but to give you a little grasp of what the perception is. So, Walter Football's got JJ going 5th. Sporting News has J.J. McCarthy going 8th to the Atlanta Falcons. I tweeted this out last night, and I saved the tweet. I hope I did. I think I did. I think I liked it. I'll say it right now so we can. It'll be documented, though. I don't know why. I had a vision of J.J. McCarthy in an NFL uniform leading his team down the field, and that uniform that he was wearing was the Minnesota Vikings. I keep going back to it. And I'm like, man, JJ's going to end up as a Viking. I don't know why. He's going to be a Minnesota Viking. Listen, the Vikings need a quarterback. Kirk Cousins' contract is up. They're not going to pay him all that money. They're going to move forward with a young quarterback right now. We saw the quarterback carousel debacle. They need a quarterback. And there's going to be a quarterback there. The Vikings pick 11th. Is JJ still going to be there 11? I don't know. I tell you what, the Denver Broncos at 12 would be a good fit for JJ McCarthy, too. I can imagine Sean Payton liking him. Let's roll. This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency. Let's do this thing. Hail to the victor style. Go blue, baby. As the Michigan Wolverines get it done last night. But the talk now is what's going to happen to Coach Harbaugh, what's going to happen to their quarterback and J.J. McCarthy. As far as Harbaugh is concerned, we're going to break it down with Mo Khan. I am Gabriel Morency. Shout out to all of our AM radio affiliates, including the Mighty 1090, ESPN Radio, SoCal, joining us for the final hour of the program. We've been kicking it on Sirius XM Channel 159 since 7 o'clock Pacific, weeknight 7 to 10 Pacific, 10 o'clock East Coast time. And I know some of the affiliates jump in here for the last hour of the program and due to live sports and everything else in between. Last night we had the ultimate live sporting event with the national championship. The Michigan Wolverines obviously got it done. Pretty much everything that we talked about and how we broke the game down came to fruition, except for the fact that we thought there'd be a couple of more points. The total just didn't get there, but it was a dominant performance by the Michigan Wolverines, rightful national champions. But the questions, there's a million of them right now. There's as many questions surrounding the Michigan Wolverine program and, in connection to the National Football League as there are hangovers in the Ann Arbor area, which I'm sure there are a lot. And I'm sure also I'm going to assume there's going to be a lot of kids named JJ, Jim, Donovan, Blake, Mason in about, 9 months' time. But is Harbaugh going to go to the National Football League? Everybody's trying to read between the comments and read between the lines. I don't know. I mean, J.J. McCarthy said after that this is the last time we're ever going to be together. And then Harbaugh after is talking about spring practice, and he can't wait for spring practice. And they're going to push spring practice back a couple of weeks because they're going to let people enjoy the championship. So there's a lot, I don't know. And Harbaugh is like a Rubik's Cube, man, right? Nobody knows what he's actually going to do. But the Raiders would be a good fit for Harbaugh. Washington have deep pockets. Mo Khan will step up and in. Let's talk NFL playoffs. Let's do this thing. This is Sports Rage.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices. And we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, we got a fun one going on at the Crypt right now. The Lakers and the Raptors, 77-76 with 3 minutes left. The Lakers just hit a 15-6 scoring run for the Lakers in the last 3 minutes and 42 seconds. It's a game of runs. And both teams, the Raptors went on like an 8-0 run. Right now it's a run for the Los Angeles Lakers. The shots just aren't falling for the Raptors suddenly right now. Shots are falling for the Rebs, though. At the Thomas and Mack, 61-46 for UNLV over New Mexico right now. They're starting to pull away in this game. And Russell just hit another 3 for the Lakers, 80-76. All right, so we'll keep you up to date with the basketball that's going on, but let's bring in our boy Mo Khan. Right now, TSN statistician, play-by-play voice, and more, former wide receiver. Mo, always a pleasure, man. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be. How you doing tonight, Mo?
I'm good. I'm well, but I think you are in cloud nine, Gabe, with your Michigan Wolverines at the summit of the college football world.
Yeah, I am very, very happy. I've had the opportunity, my teams have won some championships over the years. They're all sort of different, but this one really was special, it seemed. I don't know, like I really am, on cloud nine. It was a great time, and I'm glad I was part of it. That was the whole thing. Right, I wasn't going to go to both games, but I was like, all right, the Rose Bowl, so I'm glad I was part of the run. I got to tell you, thinking back, man, they were so close to losing that Alabama game, bro.
Yeah.
Alabama nearly got a first down. It nearly extended. Then Michigan nearly never got the ball back. It was like a shoestring tackle that they're not getting talked about. Like, just think it reminded me almost like the Virginia Cavaliers when they won the basketball, Mo. Like, there were so many calls with, 0.1 seconds left that went their way. Like, when they actually ended up winning the college championship, the Virginia Cavalier basketball team. But what did you think about the game last night?
Look, the blueprint was from the get-go, right? The ground game was the key element for Michigan to win this football game because you look at Washington's front seven. I know we spoke about the DBs, and, they got exposed a couple of times, the Huskies, throughout the course of the season. But you look at the size difference. I mean, you look at Michigan, this is the Midwest strength going up against the Pacific Northwest, speed and agility. And quite frankly, the Wolverines' front five leaned on the front seven of the Huskies, and they opened up those big gaps for runs, as you saw in that first couple of drives of that football game. And they leaned on them, and they wore them down. And by the time we hit the fourth quarter, even though it was a one-score game at one point late in the third, you just saw that it was just a man amongst boys at one point between these two teams. And also, I think in the long view for the Huskies, they have to look at it from this perspective from Kalen DeBoer. If they're going to survive the Big Ten, they got to get bigger in the trenches, and that's where they lost this football game against a very good Michigan Wolverine offense.
It really was amazing, isn't it? I was wondering if it was the jerseys and stuff like that, because white makes you look bigger even, right? You know, you played football, so.
Yeah.
And I was like, in Michigan, you kind of look smaller, like when you're wearing like all dark colors.
The monologue, yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny when Michigan came out. It was one thing it crossed my mind. I was like, man, number one, I would have went with the yellow pants. It worked in the Rose Bowl, but whatever. I went with the all blue look. But I was like, it makes them look smaller, and I kind of liked it. I was like, it's kind of deceptive. I think Washington's players aren't going to realize it until they're actually in the huddle on the line of scrimmage. They're like, damn, these guys on Michigan are big, right? And they kind of look smaller, but during the game itself, it was amazing, Mo. Like Washington, I don't say that disrespectingly because the game wasn't a rout, but from a size perspective, they almost look like a high school team or like a JUCO team next to Michigan at times. Like, I was like, wow, like Michigan are just so much. And what was crazy, they were bigger and faster than they were.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to like the different styles of play, right? The Pac-12 is more of a smooth, sleek, Ferrari, whereas in the Big Ten, it's that Dodge Ram truck style of offense, right? That you need to employ. And I just thought in the situation that it was yesterday for the Huskies, even though the game again was a one-score gap, I just thought that they just leaned on them, right? They opened up gaps, the big runs that they had for touchdowns. Those were massive, and I just thought they wore down the Huskies' defense. And I just think on the flip side of things, Gabe, let's not forget about the Michigan defense, what they did. This reminded me of how the Florida Gators were against the Ohio State when they had Troy Smith and they harassed them all night long and terrorized them and made them look rather ordinary. That's what they did to Michael Penix Jr., who had, over 50 passing attempts in that football game, but these weren't the successful passing attempts that he was looking for. And you just saw it. He couldn't get to his first, second, and third read as well as he wanted to because the pressure kept on coming and exotic looks. And I just think that, the whole tree, the Harbaugh tree, the Mike McDonald tree, with what they did with the, defense for Michigan, definitely was on full front course and how this was for them. I just thought this was a spectacular effort from both sides of the football for Michigan and how they played out against the Washington Huskies.
There was so much talk about the Joe Moore Award and the Washington Huskies and their offensive line, yet I think it was almost a problem and a detriment to them. And I brought it up. I said, with all due respect, other than Leatu on UCLA, how many premium, a couple of kids on Oregon, but how many premium sort of pass rushes and defenses did they protect Penix from? And Penix has had he only got sacked 11 times all year. And he was really protected. He was rattled last night that he didn't have time. And you saw Mo, he was throwing off his back foot. He was just getting rid of the football desperately. I think he was shell-shocked, and you saw when he was walking off the field. I don't think he was exaggerating. It reminded me of a UFC fighter, the losing fighter sort of struggling to walk back to the room after.
Yeah.
He was beat up, bro. And Michigan, they didn't sack him that many times, but they scared him. And when they hit him hard. There was a play that Ndunze got hit by 3 Wolverines on one play. They were like a pack of rabid Wolverines, bro, last night. There was 6 of them once that arrived at once. Even Herbstreit, he goes, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He goes, there's 7 guys at the ball. And he goes, 3 of them hit him. Ndunze got hit by 3 different Wolverines. Boom, boom, boom. Michigan laid a hammer down to those guys last night.
Oh, they definitely did. And again, it goes back to that whole Michigan-Baltimore tree, right? How they had the same defenses more or less. And I just think that the way it was, the pressure up the middle of the defense really got Penix Jr. off his mark. And there were throws that he had. You made the point about him being off balance, whatever it was. He didn't look comfortable in the pocket. And he was beaten up. You saw when he left the football game at NRG Stadium, towel on his face, that he was bruised, beaten up, battered to the bone here. And I just think that he never seen a defense as it was. Yes, he did play Michigan at IU when they won back in the COVID.
He actually played well in that game. Yeah, it was the pandemic year. Threw for 300 yards, 313 yards.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns, right? And we spoke about it last week. That was the game that many thought Jim Harbaugh would be fired, right? Losing to Indiana that day. But just think about those guys the leftovers from that team, right? They had a chip on the shoulder saying, look, This guy exploited us 4 years ago, whatever it was, that we played Indiana. We got beat the crap out of this guy, and that's what they did. And I just thought they got very physical at times. And Ndunze, who I think is one of the best receivers coming to this draft, I mean, yes, he had 87 yards in this game, but the reality was it wasn't the most dominant effort that he was looking for as he had against Texas in weeks past. So I just thought this Michigan game plan was splendid, and it was A+. There was no holes to be exploited by Washington. And even though it was a one-score game, Gabe, at the end of the day, the better team won, and we saw Michigan really use the value of what they were on offense and defense to win this matchup.
Yeah, I thought Ndunze, and I'm not one of these guys because I think it's short-sighted and I think it's a dumb take to criticize or judge a player on one game, right? But I'm just being real. Last night hurt Michael Penix's NFL draft stock. It just did. Because that's what he's going to see in the NFL, right? Like you're not playing Arizona State, bro, anymore. Like there's dudes that are fast. You know what I'm saying? And that's, to me, Penix, he's not mobile, bro. He is a pure pocket passer. And I think, you know what I mean? He doesn't have that added thing. If you get to him, you see he gets rattled. I'm not saying that the sky's fallen on him here as far as the NFL is concerned, but I think J.J. McCarthy is going ahead of him, and I'll get your take on this on the other side, and we'll get into the NFL playoffs. And we haven't gotten into Mike Vrabel's surprise firing. This is SportsRage.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices. And we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, he's all a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
A lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. Raptors and Lakers, 91-89 for the Raptors right now at the Crib. We got a close game. They're going back and forth. There's 11 minutes left. We'll keep our eye on this. Just a quick updated number right now. In-game total is 236.5, and the game is basically a pick 'em. The Lakers are minus 1.5, but it is minus 155 on the money line. The Raptors are plus 125 on the money line, now 91-91. Mo Khan, our boy Mo Khan, can't with us. So I want to get into the NFL, but let's do that as far as Harbaugh is concerned. I said earlier, nobody knows. Who knows? I don't think he knows. He's clearly going to listen to offers. He does all the time. He didn't hire Don Yee for nothing. So he's going to listen to offers. I was speaking with Rick Saratella earlier, and we were talking about the Washington Commanders being a potential fit for Harbaugh. Harris has money. The ownership group has money. They're looking for a rebuild, a retool in Washington. But it's not the best situation, right? I mean, the roster's okay. They do have the second pick. The stadium's a dump. But, you know, it's not the most glamorous job. But they do have money. Let's just be real. I don't believe the Chargers are in play. The Raiders, though, and Mo happens to be a Raider fan as well. The Raiders are interesting to me. He hired Don Yee, who, of course, was Tom Brady's agent. Harbaugh's wife is from Las Vegas. Tom Brady is a minority owner with the Raiders and the Las Vegas Aces. He reportedly, behind the scenes, has basically been talking with Harbaugh supposedly about if you're going to do, like, he's not trying to, you know what I mean? But if you're going to do this, this is why, you know, Las Vegas is the place for you. What do you think happens? Because Harbaugh was talking about spring practice last night. But so what does that mean? I don't know. Right? Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Who knows? Like, who knows what it means? JJ's talking about the last time they were going to be together last night. So they were all over the place, bro. What's your because no one knows. What's your personal gut tell you? Do you think Harbaugh goes to the NFL?
I think there is a stronger chance now because, Gabe, look, whenever the NCAA comes down on Michigan, you think about that he's been suspended twice during this past football season. The first, the 3 games back in September, and then, of course, the final 3 games in Big Ten play. How much more can he go through? I think you asked him the question last week about Michigan, the legacy he's left. He's met the legacy, right? He's restored the pride of Go Blue and making Michigan now a national relevant program that it wasn't the last 15 years prior to his arrival when he came in back in 2015. I just think that what else is there to do for him in Michigan? There's nothing more. He's done what he's done. He's got them back up top, and now the biggest fish for him to get is to win a Super Bowl, which he lost by 7 yards to his brother John back in 2013. So I just think now for him, he's got to find out what fits best for him. You mentioned the Tom Brady angle. Of course, Charles Woodson being a former Michigan alum himself and a Raider connection as well. The question for Mark Davis is this, though. You mentioned, we're speaking about this, is the money value that Mark Davis has. He's not the richest owner out there. He's paying Josh McDaniels. He's paying John Gruden for the time being. And the reality now coming for Mark Davis is this. If he opts to keep Antonio Pierce because of the fan momentum and player momentum, is he okay, Gabe, to accept that perhaps for the next, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, he would have to go up against Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh 6 times in the division and probably lose all 6 games having Antonio Pierce as the head coach? So there's going to be a lot of buyer's remorse if he doesn't come through here. But again, he has wooed Jim Harbaugh for the last 8 years. And can he now finally convince him that, hey, come down to Vegas because we have something being built up with a pretty good defense, and they have their draft picks in tow right now that they can work with to perhaps get J.J. McCarthy as their franchise signal caller.
That's what Raider fan is hoping, that Harbaugh comes and you get the J.J. McCarthy package. I've always got the feeling, I just imagine Jaden Daniels in a Raiders uniform. But
he was in the locker room, though, right on Sunday. He was with Antonio Pierce in the locker room on Sunday, yeah.
Interesting. And listen, AP did a good job. They're in a unique situation. It's funny because they've been down this path before already, right? Bisaccia, similar situation. Bisaccia got him into the playoffs, but the players really do seem to like AP a lot. But at the same point in time, you can't let the players decide who the coach is going to be. I remember the USC Trojans players voted to make Clay Helton the coach. They were all, we're going to leave unless Clay Helton, you know what I mean? Clay Helton, we better hire Clay Helton. They hired Clay Helton, and what happened, right? You know what I mean? Like, listen to the fan, and you end up sitting next to them, as Buddy Ryan once so eloquently stated. This is SportsRage. I am Morency. 96-95 for the Raptors. 8.5 left in the game right now. 96-95 Toronto over the Lakers. I got to tell you, now Wood's going at it. D'Angelo Russell and Schroeder got into it. The Raptors, and this is a really, really, really mouthy game. Like, who is it? Oh, Scotty Barnes. Yeah, dude. What's Wood bitching about, bro? You ran down the court and ran right into Barnes, and he's crying after. But, yeah, it's a chippy game, man. These teams are going at it right now. Fun game. All right, so speaking of, we'll get into the NFL games, but what did you think of Mike Vrabel? People were shocked. Taylor Lewan was, he joined Rich Eisen today to talk about Michigan. Both Michigan guys talk about Michigan. And the news broke when they were on live. Taylor Lewan couldn't believe it. And Derrick Henry couldn't believe it. Everybody's in shock. Nobody saw this coming. There's been talk. I don't know. I'm not like fully shocked, to be honest, because there was the talk about him with the Patriots. There was talk about him stepping down. Or I said it last week. I sort of got the feeling that they kind of knew something, that it was their last game at home this week. You saw Derrick Henry grab the mic after. What do you make of Vrabel getting fired, and what do you think happens to him?
Not surprised at all, Gabe. A good buddy of mine is a diehard Tennessee fan, and last year I told him, I think Vrabel's in the hot seat. I think you bring a new GM. The team, you think about this, Gabe, the last two playoff runs they've had, they lost to Baltimore and the Bengals, right? They scored a combined total of 27 points in the home losses. You think about last year, on November 17th, 2022, they were 7-3. They ended off the year 7 losses in a row. They finished the last 18 months 6-18. This is a team that did not score more than 29 points in the football game this past season. The signs were there. Vrabel tried to keep the band intact with Tannehill, with Derrick Henry, bringing in DeAndre Hopkins as well to make a big run here. But Rand Carthon wanted to go youth system as opposed to what they did this past year. So there was definitely a disconnect with Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel. And it's thought that in the last year and a half or so, it was bound to happen. And you think about the ownership group in Tennessee, right? This is a team that's very twitchy, and it's weird. Reading an article in The Athletic earlier today, this is an ownership group that when they will lose to the Houston Texans would be upset beyond belief, because this is a hometown team that they were once occupied with the Houston Oilers, and they never want to lose to the Texans. And for them to lose as he did to the Texans, 10 days ago, whatever it was, didn't sit well with ownership. And I think now for Mike Vrabel, he will have a market, whether it's going to be New England, whether it's Atlanta, the Vegas Raiders, or whoever, or he can sit back for a year. So I just think that Vrabel has a market. The question now for him, Gabe, is that does he want to get back to the coaching world right away, or let things settle down before he decides that next move?
Mike Vrabel's only 48 years old as well. And I tell you what, Mike Vrabel as well, there'll be college teams, right? It's not the best time of the year right now for this, but he'd be a perfect call. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying out there, it's not crazy that some AD out there say, you know what? I'm going to give Vrabel $15 million a year to coach my team here in the Big Ten or something. I'm just saying, but I think he does end up in the NFL. I think because he's a conservative hire, right? You know what you're going to get. He's a pro. I don't think the game has passed him by either. I don't think it's a case of like he's Jeff Fisher, because a lot of people always pass him by. I think, like Taylor was saying, that he didn't have a lot to work with. And as you stated, and for the record, guys, the reason why he got fired, there was a tug of war behind the scenes, and you got a new GM there, and the guy that came over from San Francisco, and he wants to rebuild. Yeah, he wanted to rebuild the program. He said, listen, we got to rebuild. We're not very good. We got too many old players. And Vrabel was like, we're in a bad division. We can win. No, let's get DeAndre Hopkins. Let's start Ryan Tannehill. Vrabel wanted to win, and no, let's go with the vets. He didn't want to do the rebuild thing. So I understand. And let's not forget, Mo, they got a new stadium coming. They're hosting the Super Bowl. Right. I actually think it's probably a good idea to sort of go in a new direction, sort of modernize the organization.
Well, they weren't, Gabe, right? And as I said before, they didn't score more than 28 points in the football game this year. I mean, that's remarkable. And you think about they were 6-18 the last 24 games under Mike Vrabel. So I just think that it made.
Do they have to move on, Mo? Sorry, do they have to move on from Will Levis already? Because Malik Willis obviously is not the quarterback. What about, that's what I'm saying. They didn't. Vrabel didn't really want to play him, right? But are they going to say, "Well, we like him. You better play. He's going to be the quarterback next year"? Or are they going to go in a different direction? There's so much up in the air.
Right, but they've invested in quarterbacks back-to-back drafts, right? Third-round pick, second-round pick. So at some point they got to figure it out and say, this is our guy moving forward here. And now whether Will Levis is their guy or not, we don't know. He needs a bigger sample size to work with. I think Rand Carthon knows and has openly said we need to get younger, as you said before, and see what the value is. And if you are some of these veterans on this Titan team here, you got to ask out, man. You got to get yourself traded from Tennessee because it's not going anywhere. You're out. You got to go, man. Right? I just think for Amy Adams, the owner of this franchise, I mean, she's made some weird moves the last couple of years. And same thing as her, right? Her and Mark Davis are almost in the same parallel of not being the richest owner, being in a small market in Nashville. So does she have the money to go out there and get a high-name coach, or maybe go Ben Johnson route or Kellen Moore, that level of dollar value, because she can't spend the money like New England can, or maybe even the Dallas Cowboys if they let go Mike McCarthy.
And I think you know what? There was like apathy starting to kick in with Titan fan. Same crap all the time. We're not going to win. I think she saw that losing. Nashville's a competitive market. There's a lot of entertainment there, right? Like I think she started to slip in the market a bit.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices. And we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
A lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, a Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's do this thing. Countdown to kickoff is on. NFL playoffs. Interesting and unique schedule this year in the National Football League. We've got 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and 1 game on Monday. Monday night football playoff game. Wild card, baby. Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But let's start off with the first one up. We're kicking it with Mo Khan. I am Gabriel Morency. 105 right now at the Crypt. Scotty Barnes going to the free throw line right now trying to break the tie. There's 4:59 left in the game. So an improbable run here by Joe Flacco leading the Cleveland Browns into the playoffs. It's old versus new. Joe Flacco versus C.J. Stroud and company, who survived the game against the Indianapolis Colts. Mo, what's your opinion on the Cleveland Browns? 2.5-point road favorites. The total is 44.5. Who you got, Mo Khan?
Well, the question is, how healthy is Amari Cooper and Myles Garrett coming in, right? We know the history of the Browns. They've been banged up through the wazoo for what they have to go through, and here they are, being perhaps the team that no one wants to face at this point in the regular season, or playoffs, that is, I beg your pardon. So how healthy are the key hitters on this team? If they're not healthy, Gabe, it really puts a stress on Joe Flacco to maybe make a few more throws that he's not comfortable doing in the system that he's done so well so far under Stefanski. But the thing that I'm curious about the Houston Texans for C.J. Stroud is that this Browns team, right, when healthy, they got some looks, man, and Jim Schwartz is going to throw these diagonal blitzes at him. Can he diagnose the play before it happens to make the right read here? So I just think what it'll come down to is that chess matchup with C.J. Stroud diagnosing the Jim Schwartz defense beforehand and making the right throws. If he doesn't do that, Gabe, this could be a long day for this Texans offense with this Browns defense being as good as they've been so far this season.
You know what, Mo? You either read my mind or you were listening to the show earlier, but I don't think you were. But I said the same thing. I said the same thing. The thing that catches my eye about this game that I keep coming back to is Jim Schwartz having a week to prepare for C.J. Stroud and this Houston offense. Let's be real. It's amazing what he's done with as little as this team has done. They're fundamentally sound. They block for each other and all that type of stuff. Michigan Wolverine, Nico Collins, really having a great year, Mo. I mean, he's better than people realize, this guy. But at the same point in time, I'm with you. I think that Jim Schwartz is going to be able to confuse C.J. Stroud enough. Houston's offense will struggle, and Cleveland just need to, kick a couple of field goals, get a touchdown here, touchdown there, a couple of field goals, and their defense, they can grind this game out. Joe Flacco's experience comes through. We agree on the Cleveland Browns. I've been talking about the Dolphins in bad weather, bro, and it's pretty bad with the Miami Dolphins historically, and it is going to be cold weather. The Dolphins are 0-10 their last 10 games in which it was 40 degrees or lower. They've lost those 10 games by an average of 17 points as well. They're a beat-up football team, but it's not like KC or like some sort of beauty pageant queens this year. What's your take on this one? KC, 4-point favorite Saturday night.
Well, actually, Gabe, I was watching Hard Knocks, Miami Dolphins, during the 10 o'clock hour of your show. So I got to see the reaction of this. Yeah, I got to see the reaction after the Buffalo Bills lost, right? And you can just see the looks that they're like, oh, my God, we have to go to bleeping Kansas City in the cold next weekend and play. This is a team that's physically beat up, Gabe. I don't know where the pass rush is going to come now against Patrick Mahomes. It just don't know, right? And I just think their offense, too, has stagnated. You think about that second half against the Buffalo Bills where they couldn't score any touchdowns, let alone in a single point. This Chiefs defense has been prided by the fact that they've been really good in top 5 categories here. They can lock down Tyreek Hill, who's not healthy. Jalen Waddle, who knows what's going to happen with him. Tua Tagovailoa, are they going to make him one-dimensional and get to him? And I think Chris Jones in that interior pocket have to press him up the middle and get him off his mark. If they do that, Gabe, this game could be a blowout early and be an early knockout win for the Chiefs at home against the Miami Dolphins.
The Buffalo Bills get the Pittsburgh Steelers. An improbable run as well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tomlin pulls it off again, gets his team into the playoffs. They're going to be starting Mason Rudolph against the Buffalo Bills. But they don't have T.J. Watt. And how critical is T.J. Watt to the Pittsburgh Steelers, guys? He's missed 11 games since he's been a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's missed 11 games. They've won once. They're 1-10 when he doesn't play. Such a key, critical part of their football team. Everybody that we've talked to so far says Bills by $1 billion, Bills in a blowout. What's your take?
I think the Bills are going to win comfortably against this Pittsburgh team. You think about now, Gabe, I've called this Bills defense many times. I called the Bills offense many times, the O-line in particular, right? And they kind of got exposed, right? They couldn't get that 1 yard required to beat the Dolphins initially on that fourth down. So I think in this situation now, Pittsburgh's defense is good enough, Gabe, but they're not great with that. They're not great without TJ Watt. If they don't have Watt in there, it's going to hurt them. Where's the pass rush going to come from? From Highsmith, from the interior? Who knows? But I just think right now for Josh Allen, I think Gabe, being a diehard Bills fan, you've accepted for what he is. He can be as gifted, but also be flawed at the same time with how he sees a football game. What it'll come down to will be James Cook and how he runs the football and how he's able to secure the football. You think about that drop ball in the end zone. You think about his fumbles during the regular season. He's got to be the X factor for the Buffalo Bills to win this football game at home. Stephon Diggs will get his touches, but I think right now what it'll come down to is in between the tackles and how the Bills establish that running game. If they do so early in this matchup here, it can really wear down this Pittsburgh defense, who may be in the football field a little bit longer than normal, because this Pittsburgh offense, I don't know where they're going to get the points from on the road.
You know what I think, who a key football player in this game to me is Warren, right? Harris is who he is, but Warren can start to, Warren's fast. He gets downhill. He can start to make a couple of plays, but with all due respect to the Steelers, and I don't like looking ahead of or dismissing teams, but I think Pittsburgh are in a lot of trouble in this spot going into Buffalo, right? 27-10, 30-13 type thing. The Bills are going to circle the wagon. The Bills are good in these first sort of opening round games. They weren't last year at Cincinnati, I know. But, generally, they'll beat you. You know what I mean? It's not a good spot for Pittsburgh here, in my opinion. But, hey, you can't dismiss Tomlin and this crew. Okay, Mo, Green Bay Packers. Now this starts to get sexier now. Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys, man. You got McCarthy taking on his former team. Dallas have been amazing at home this year. They've murdered teams, but they're laying 7.5 to a Green Bay Packer team that's pretty confident right now and kind of playing with house money. They won they didn't win a division, but they made the playoffs. Year one of Jordan Love was a success. Whatever happens here in this game. All the pressure's on the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, first off, I think the total is rather low, Gabe. I think this is going to go over 50. I really believe so, because you look at Jordan Love. It feels like a track meet. Big plays through the air for both teams, huh? 1,000%, because Jordan Love's thrown 18 touchdowns in the last 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season. He's found his rhythm, and I think in this situation, yes, I believe the Cowboys are favored to win this football game. They should win it. But right now, the biggest difference is the health of the Cowboys secondary. Stephon Gilmore got banged up against the Commanders, and how healthy is he? And you think about it right now, as young as the Packer offense is, as young as the rapport is with quarterback to receiving group that they have right now, you're right. They're playing with house money. And the thing is, Gabe, this Packer defense is rather underrated. You think about their front seven, how well they played. They've held teams in check right now. And Dak Prescott right now, look, he should have the rapport with CeeDee Lamb in this matchup here. But I just think that linebacking core for the Packers, if they're able to really diagnose plays before it happens, can really put this Cowboy offense in a bind here. I think this is a lot closer. This will come down to the final 5 minutes. The question now is for McCarthy, can he manage the game properly and not botch like he almost did against the Lions? And as we've seen with Mike McCarthy in years past in the playoffs, lose it when they should win it at the depth of a matchup.
I do agree with Mo Khan. I like the over of this game. I like the Green Bay Packers plus the 7.5, but I do like the over a lot. And I really can't wait for the Sunday nighter. Rams and the Lions. Unbelievable. So I don't know if the Detroit Lions and Aiden Hutchinson can keep this Michigan magic going. But it's unbelievable that of all teams they get, so they get Matthew Stafford, which obviously that storyline is going to be talked about. But the fact of the matter is, bro, the Rams are one of the hottest teams in the National Football League right now. I mean, they just are. Look at the game that they lost. When's the last, that they lost? They lost to the Baltimore Ravens, and Lamar Jackson was out of his mind, like Superman running around in overtime in that game. To me, the Rams are like a serious dark horse. I've been talking about it a lot, Mo. I think they're going to beat the Detroit Lions. You got Sean McVay versus Campbell. You've got Stafford versus Goff. The Lions are going to feel the pressure. They haven't been in the playoffs before. You got a bunch of Ram dudes that have won the Super Bowl before. You got a bunch of other Ram guys that are new, but they're studs. You got Williams running the football. The Rams are a good football team right now, Mo. I think the Rams can go to the NFC Conference Championship game. I think they're that good. So I think they're going to beat the Lions. What's your pick?
Yeah, this is a tricky game. I think the Lions secondary is rather weak. They don't have the same depth and dominance that they want from their back four compared to their front seven, Gabe.
That's not good, bro, when you're playing Nakua and Cooper Kupp.
No, and you think about the number of big plays, the explosive plays the Lions defense has given up this year. It's quite a bit. And I think you look at Puka Nakua, you look at Kyron Williams, you look at Cooper Kupp, as you said before. These are guys that may not be explosive players, but they get you explosive plays. And I just think that in the situation right now for Aaron Glenn, he's got to make sure his team is disciplined, because this McVay offense, they love to exploit the weaknesses that you have. And if they sniff it out that there is a weakness, which there is in the secondary, they're going to use it to their advantage. And I think in this situation now for Detroit is Jared Goff, right? We know about the Goff angle as well. What Goff are we going to get on Sunday night in primetime? The one that threw for 5 touchdowns against the Denver Broncos, or the one that kind of stank up the joint on Thanksgiving Thursday back in late November? So I just think in this situation, how it was for the Lions in this particular diagram they're in, they're probably 1 year away from being where they should be right now. And I think this is a game that the Rams, if they do win, and if they get the Niners next round, if I'm San Fran, I'm a little bit antsy, because this Ram team matches up well with this Niners team from top to bottom if it ends up being San Fran, LA next round.
That's what I'm saying. The Rams, you got Sean McVay, so they're not at a disadvantage against anybody really, and they won't fear people. Matthew Stafford's won a Super Bowl. McVay's won a Super Bowl, right? Like they're not scared of the 49ers. Or they wouldn't be scared of the Cowboys or anybody. That's my whole point about the Rams. I think they're a really live team. All right, Mo, we got about a minute and a half here. We always appreciate your time. Man, the Philadelphia Eagles, like this is like WKRP. I thought turkeys could fly. I thought eagles could fly. They can't right now. And they got beat up last week. Like guys were getting injured on every play. It was just a disaster, nightmare for them. What do you think about this game on Monday night? We'll speak after the game. What do you think?
Yeah, the Eagles remind me of the old WCW under Eric Bischoff, where it just goes off the rails, right? This is what's happened to this team. They've gone off the rails of what they are. They really have, right?
It's just done.
It's done, exactly, right? I just think, look, Baker Mayfield's got to pitch a perfect game. As much as we poke and prod at the Eagles right now, and they've given up the yards here, Mike Evans is going to be a matchup problem for them, right? You think about it, Godwin as well being a problem. They have matchup problems that go up against this Eagle defense that's not played well. So if Mayfield can get going early in his rhythm, it becomes tough. And remember, Todd Bowles, Gabe, is an excellent play caller on defense. I think he's going to have this defense ready to go. And I think Tampa wins this game by field goal over the Eagles on Monday Night Football.
You know, it's crazy. I agree with you. Like before, going into last week, I was like, Philadelphia could beat Tampa. We kind of knew the matchup coming, right? I was like, Philadelphia. Right. Now I'm like, no, I don't trust them. I don't believe they can. I'm not so sure they can. And I think people underestimate Baker Mayfield. Oh, he made the playoffs. We're talking about a kid that made a national championship. Great stuff, Mo.
Always, brother. Take care.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices. And we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6th and the 7th seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Bills going on the road to Miami Gardens, knocking off the Dolphins as 3-point favorites. They win it 21-14.
You want to lose like the Falcons did today, 48-17? That's probably bothersome. You want to win an ugly game where you throw 3 picks, but you end up winning the division? No one cares. Ain't nobody going to be talking about interceptions in the end zone tomorrow. You know what they're talking about? Hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in the playoffs.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Man, that was a tough call that just went against the Raptors late. We got a close one, 119-116. Looks like the Lakers are going to get it done. The Raptors aren't very good in the final moments of these games. This is the thing with the Raptors. They got a bunch of dudes, but they don't got the guy. You know what I mean? There's like, who gets the ball late? It's not set. You know what I mean? Like most teams, like, all right, give me the ball. You know who's getting the ball. The Raptors, like it might be Siakam, it might be Barnes, Schroeder might take a bad 3 late. Like they're unstructured late, and that's what happens. They play well, then it sort of falls apart for them. The game's going to go over the number. It's 120-116 right now with a $1:37 left. Thanks to all of our guests for joining us this evening. We're going to be back with the Wicked Wednesday tomorrow night, if they have us. But we'll be back tomorrow night. And always a good night on Wednesday nights. Wednesday night's sort of our sharp night in a sense. Look, Brady Cannon's a smart guy, big-time gambler. Paul Bovey probably bets the biggest units out of any of our guests. Like, Bovey really does bet, like, he's betting like 10, 25K a game and stuff. And, like, when Bovey's betting a player prop, sometimes, like, he sends me his tickets. The guy's got, like, $12,000 on somebody to get 34 yards. You know what I'm saying? So Bovey's, I guess the term the sharp. That's what, I don't like squares and sharps, but Bovey bets real money for a living. And he'll be with us. Ian Cameron, smart guy, will be on the show tomorrow night. George Kurtz, Cam Stewart. So we're going to have a packed show. NFL playoffs, of course, 2 games Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and then 1 game on Monday. And we're just talking with Mo Khan. As crazy as it sounds to say, we're going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I haven't bet the game yet, but I don't trust the Eagles. Like, I just point blank don't trust this Eagle team right now. And I don't think just because it's a playoff game, suddenly everything is going to get better. Tampa are playing with house money, right? They have a chip on their shoulder. They have a very smart coach, like defensive coach. They can win this game. Like, I don't trust the Philadelphia Eagles. As of right now, I do like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But we'll break it down throughout the week. Hail to the victor. Go blue, baby. Bills Mafia up next. Let's roll. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.